The Eastern Conference has been really unpredictable this season. The Bucks, the Nets, the Bulls, the Heat, the Cavs, and the Sixers have all made their cases as top-tier teams in the East one way or another. But recently, one team that has actually strengthened their position as a top dog in the conference due to their statistical dominance is the Boston Celtics, who many had previously criticized due to a lackluster start to the season. However, since the start of 2022, the Celtics have the Eastern Conference's best record at 17-6. Also, their 12.6 net rating within that span of time isn't only the best in the conference but also the best in the NBA. Further, Boston has been stifling opponents with a league best 100.4 defensive rating in 2022, but also their offense, which was once maligned for lack of ball movement and underwhelming shot profile, now has a 113.5 rating, which ranks their offense number 10 in the league since the start of 2022 after just ranking number 21 prior to that period. Also, the Celtics are 9-1 over their last 10 games, and during that stretch, they have pounded 9 consecutive opponents by an average of 20.8 points. That's how good they've actually been. But sure, there are definitely excuses to be made if you aren't sold on Boston's dominance. Well, the Nets' big three were absent when Boston beat them by 35 points, and James Harden still wasn't suited up for Philly when Boston demolished the team by 48 points. But looking at it, even if we concede that the Celtics have had some injury luck, particularly in early to mid-January, I think the team has just really undergone some serious structural changes with how they're playing, which is what really made them dominant on both ends of the floor. And so, based on my own observations, that's what we'll talk about here today. So what's good everyone, it's Real Balls again, and as always, please do give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content, as it definitely helps the channel a lot. It only takes a second of your time, but it would be much appreciated. So let's get to it. First, let's talk about the team's offense. Boston's dynamic duo of Jayson Tatum and Jalen Brown have posted really big numbers for years now, and I think it's come to the point that it's not about whether or not those two guys can score anymore, but rather whether or not they can actually find ways to maximize opposing teams' defensive game plans to their advantage. And I think both guys have been able to do that as of late, cause since the beginning of the Celtics' recent 9-game win streak, the team has registered a 19.8 assist ratio, which ranks 5th in the NBA. Prior to that, they only ranked 23rd in that category. And I think a huge reason for this uptick is how both Tatum and Brown have just been better at opening things up for their teammates offensively as of late, which we can see in a variety of ways. Though particularly, one thing that I've seen Boston run a lot recently in the half court is their double drag play, which utilizes 2 ball screens for the ball handler, which I think has been a very good way for Boston to execute their offense, cause depending on the defensive coverage, it could either open up driving lanes for Tatum and Brown, or it could open up easy scoring opportunities near the rim for Robert Williams or Al Horford. Just like in this clip, you can see Brown receiving the handoff from Marcus Smart. From here, Brown uses double screens from Tatum and Williams. Here you can see how this action opens up everything for Boston. Brown can either lob it to Williams or kick the ball out to corner shooters, but here, he chooses to take advantage of the single coverage by attacking all the way to the rim. Then this time, it's Marcus Smart who initiates offense by using double screens from Brown and Robert Williams. There's a lot of options for him here, but once Brown pops out of the paint, everything just opens up for Williams at the rim, so Smart just dishes out the nice pass to him, leaving the defense unable to react to the quick action. So as you can see, those plays just open up things for Boston's offense because of the space creation and off-ball movement that it promotes. But again, everything starts with Tatum and Brown, and I think we're actually starting to see real playmaking development from both guys. I think Tatum has become really patient and decisive with the ball. He's constantly engaging bigs in the pick and roll, but then he kicks out to shooters when additional help comes. And the impact of his playmaking is also reflected by the stats, as since the beginning of 2022, Tatum has been leading the Celtics with a total of 54 3-point field goal assists. Just like in this clip, you can see Tatum running the ball screen play with Robert Williams. He engages the drop coverage, but once he sees the defense collapse, he throws the one-handed pass to Richardson on the weak side for the wide open 3. Again here, there's more of the Celtics double drag screen play. You can see how Tatum leverages his attack by forcing the defense to collapse in the paint, then right before he's trapped, he kicks the ball out to Grant Williams, who then hits another open 3. On the other hand, Jaylen Brown has also been effective this way by leveraging his scoring gravity to create open looks for teammates. Particularly, he's looked more comfortable in terms of making passing reads on the interior, as since the start of 2022, Brown has tallied a total of 51 two-point field goal assists, 34 of which came as assists at the rim. Just like here, you can see Brown coming out of the side ball screen, then watch how he drives his way into the paint, forcing 3 defenders to collapse on him before dishing out the lob pass to the Time Lord for the easy finish right at the rim. Then here, watch the nice and quick short roll pass from Smart to Jaylen Brown, who again forces the defense to collapse before Brown drops it off to Williams for another nice interior finish. Well, if you would remember, Marcus Smart did call out Tatum and Brown earlier in the season for their unwillingness to move the ball, and I think both guys have responded. But I think another reason why Marcus Smart's criticism has aged quite well is because Smart himself has also taken more responsibility in terms of creating on the offensive end. Smart has always been an underrated passer, and since the start of 2022, Boston has been generating 1.02 points per possession on pick and rolls, which feature Smart as a ball handler. Those numbers put him right between 2 other great pick-and-roll guards in Devin Booker and Darius Garland stat-wise. But I think what's more interesting is that such number even rises to 1.23 points per possession when Smart acts as a screener during pick-and-rolls. That's actually the best mark in the league among 164 players to have set at least 75 picks in 2022. Just like here, you can see Smart setting the pick for Tatum. This action enables Tatum to find him on the short roll, then watch Smart just dish out the nice lob to Robert Williams for the easy dunk. And speaking of Robert Williams, at this point, you'd notice how a lot of these plays actually showcase the Time Lord's tremendous rim running ability and impact as a lob threat, which isn't surprising considering he's the Celtics' best athlete. But what I really like about what Boston is doing is that they're not just using him solely as a lob guy, as they're also deploying him as a connector in their half-court offense, cause this season his short roll passing has actually looked great as well. Just like here, watch Williams run an elbow set with Tatum. As soon as Tatum receives the handoff, Williams rolls right into the paint, forcing the defense to collapse, then he just finds Horford on the right corner, who then hits the wide open 3. But then, similar things can be said about Al Horford himself. He has been tremendous for Boston, sporting a 3:1 assist-to-turnover ratio since the year began. The thing is, Horford's on-ball usage has decreased as of late because of Robert Williams' increased functionality. Through December 2021, Horford averaged 34.2 frontcourt touches per game, but since the start of 2022, that's now down to 26.4 per game. But still, I think the good thing about Horford is that he's still a very versatile piece of the Celtics offense, as he can either be a passer out of the elbows, a pick-and-pop guy, or a pure floor spacer when his teammates are getting busy with the ball. Then there's also newcomer Derrick White, who employs a similar skill set to that of Marcus Smart. He can kick off possessions by setting a ball screen while also having the ability to create for himself and for others, and he's also been averaging a solid 12.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 3.8 assists in his first 4 games as a Celtic. Further, the team's also got stretch forward Grant Williams, who's continuously able to utilize the scoring gravity of Tatum and Brown by shooting 44.6% from 3 this season, which is the second best mark in the entire NBA. Together, all of these guys give the Celtics a solid rotation that could pretty much compete against any team in a 7-game playoff series on both ends of the floor, which then brings us to the defensive end. Well, the Celtics' 104.9 defensive rating this season is the second best in the league and just 0.3 points away from tying the Golden State Warriors, who rank first. And I think a lot of Boston's defensive success can be attributed to their switch-heavy scheme. Well, just look at the numbers. The Celtics switched 26.9 picks per 100 possessions, which is the second highest switch rate next to Miami's. Particularly on possessions wherein the Celtics ran a switch this 2022, opponents are scoring just 79 points per 100 possessions, which ranks as the best mark in the league since the year began. And looking at the team's personnel, I think it's not hard to see why this switch-heavy scheme works for Boston. Between Smart, Brown, and Tatum, you got 3 guys with great size who can defend up and down the positional scale. Al Horford has also been great at defending in space, and the Time Lord has been tremendous as a perimeter off-ball roamer who quickly rotates to the rim to clean things up when necessary. Overall, Boston's defensive identity is just a combination of athleticism, length, and basketball IQ altogether. Here, watch how Boston suffocates Washington with switches. It starts with Tatum defending Bradley Beal, then you can see the quick switch from Marcus Smart before Jalen Brown goes for the switch as well. And at this point, it looks like Beal has himself set for a pick and roll play, but just look at the interior presence that Horford and Williams provides, which forces Beal to a bad kick-out pass resulting in a steal by Smart. Then here, you can see Jokic on the high post being guarded by the much smaller Derrick White. This is clearly a mismatch, but then you can see Tatum providing the help defense right on cue. Somehow, Jokic still finds Najee cutting to the basket, but watch the tremendous weak side help provided by both Brown and Williams to deny the shot at the rim. Overall, the Celtics are just playing great two-way basketball as of late. Well, sure, we'll have to see what happens as the season goes on, but for now, Boston is figuring things out offensively and they're restricting opponents defensively. That makes them straight up a real threat in the Eastern Conference this season. So, do you guys see the Boston Celtics as realistic contenders this season? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. And again, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Reroll Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.